Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Leadoff on the Peak One Sports Network, heard here every Saturday morning. I'm Ashton.
And I'm Tony. Let's get that coffee and energy drink going.
And Landen is over there producing this show for us. We have a lot to talk about today. Our loyal listeners, we need a name for our listeners. The Bungalow Sports Show has the Bungalow Babies, so we need a name. Comment down below what you want to be called. But no, we have to talk about some stuff today. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. As you can see, Landen has a camera. We have all kinds of cameras and mics. Change it around. The layout's different.
The Leadoff 2.0.
The Leadoff 2.0. Although this is a big deal for us, it's not the big network announcement that we had planned. But we did put a lot of thought, effort into this setup, and it's been going on for a couple of weeks, and or even longer. But we wanted to make sure that we had it down before we brought it to y'all, because obviously content's great, and looking cool is great, but we want to make sure our quality of show is top notch for you, the listeners. And before we get to that big announcement, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to Cole. I wasn't thinking when I talked about making our big announcement this weekend, because there's already something really big happening this weekend. It's a big weekend for Peak One Sports.
Yeah.
But Cole, host of Bungalow Sports Show, is hosting Bungalow Fight Night live tonight.
Yeah.
To cover UFC 291. Roughly 3-hour live stream tonight.
Yeah.
He'll have his co-host Joey from the Bungalow Sports Show on there. He'll have Alexis, his co-host from Peak One Fight Night, on there. We will be on there at some point, I believe. We haven't gotten orders from him yet. But it's going to be fun. Talk about a bunch of random stuff. If you don't plan on buying the UFC fights tonight, go ahead and jump on.
Check in.
At least
jump on.
Let him give you all the content for you.
And they'll be live. Go comment on YouTube on the live. These guys, they're going to be monitoring. We'll be monitoring. We'll comment back.
And if you are buying the fight, turn it on, mute it, pull up your phone, iPad, computer, and watch it. This is 2023.
Yeah.
You're not limited to one device.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check that out. And if hopefully everybody's on now that wanted to check out our big announcement.
You can jump on YouTube now and go ahead and select to be notified. Is it set up and ready?
It is, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to mention that. The video is set up. The live stream, whatever you want to call it, is on there. So as soon as you're done watching this show, go over, click. It might be under videos, live, whatever.
Yeah.
You'll see Bungalow Fight Night live. Go ahead and hit that notification button.
Just
so you know when it goes live.
And it'll let you know when we go live.
Speaking of which, hit the notification button on our YouTube page so you know when any show goes live. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because there's a lot of stuff coming. We have a lot of content on this network, which kind of goes into our big announcement. We have a lot of shows on here already and podcasts that you can listen to. The Leadoff, the Bungalow Sports Show, the Sports Page, the Sports Biz, Dynasty DNA sends us videos here and there. Peak One Fight Night, which is about to be rebranded.
Yeah.
As well, we'll mention that if you want to listen tonight. They're gonna
next
week. Well, they're gonna announce it tonight. What the new I believe what the new name is.
Yeah, make sure you're tuned in live to
actually
be the first to know.
Go to our social media at Peak One Sports or the Bungalow Sports Show social media. They have all the options. I think it's 3 different options. What they're gonna call the new Fight Night show. I don't know if it's a Fight Night show more as just a weekly UFC boxing fight themed show. But
speaking of fighting too, I know you want to move on to our big announcement, but we're teamed up with local Johnson County kid.
Oh yeah, Chad Box. He has a fight coming up here in September, a boxing match. And we're definitely going to mention that once we get closer to the fight date. It's here in a few weeks, or 8 or 9 weeks, a couple months. That's in Miami, Oklahoma, Buffalo Resort, Casino and Resort up in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But he's going to be on. He's going to be on a few shows here and there, and we'll definitely keep y'all updated on that. So yeah, we do that. That's a big announcement too. We do have an agreement that we're sponsoring Chad Box in his endeavor to think this is his second boxing match. I'm not sure. He's MMA, boxing, wrestling. He's everything. But we'll get y'all more of that. But on top of all the great content, our big announcement is we're adding more content. We have all of our shows, live shows, recorded shows, podcasts, but we're also adding live sports to the mix. You'll be able to go into our Peak One Sports Network and watch live sports because the network has made a deal with the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD to stream high school football. We're going to have Texas high school football on Peak One Sports. We're going to be calling the games for Saginaw High School here in North Texas, as well as Chisholm Trail High School. So between Tony and I,
we listed help from
Adam Russell. Adam Russell, you've seen him post content. He writes for Peak One Sports, and then Ross Bates as well we don't have the broadcast schedule down just yet and what teams are going to broadcast what games, but we will get all that information to you.
There's so much going on behind the scenes here at Peak One. To our loyal followers and listeners, man, you can't thank them enough for the growth that we've seen this summer.
Yeah, exponential growth from starting one morning show to adding our number one rated Bungalow Sports show to adding my podcast, Tony's show, Landen jumping here in the mix. We have a ton of content that we're just trying to get out to you the right way.
Yeah.
Not just jump out with a bunch of stuff and get in over our heads. But yeah, we have you'll be able to watch those games live, video feed, and we're going to be calling the games live on Fridays here coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we'll unveil Friday night football and all that good stuff here pretty soon. And part of that deal, we're also going to produce a Texas high school football show, recap, score update type. We hadn't got it all down yet, but Ross Bates is going to host that as well, and we'll get you more information as we have it and we do all that. So with all of that, let's finally, as Bungalow Sports Show does, we're 20 minutes in. Let's actually talk some sports. I don't know how far we're in, but we'll actually talk some sports. On a more serious note, though, I'm sure everybody's heard Bronny James earlier this week suffered cardiac arrest. I believe it was on Monday while practicing at USC facilities. He was rushed to the hospital. Medical staff was able to treat him and was in stable condition.
Yeah, he's now out of the hospital. It's been released.
I want to say it was Thursday he was released, and he was out last night with his family and LeBron James, everybody at dinner.
Yeah,
out in California.
And LeBron posted, I believe it was a tweet, just thanking everyone for their continued support and prayers in such a scary moment. I know you understand this as well as I do. As a father to. When your kids are in distress like that, it's tough. So,
yeah, and it's scary when they're only 18 years old.
Yeah,
and who knows?
And you go into sudden cardiac arrest.
Yeah,
and I assume that a lot of tests have been run. No official word that I can find. I assume they are going to continue to run tests and see what's going on.
See if it's a condition. I mean, being LeBron James' son too, playing college basketball is not. No. The easiest thing either. So I don't know if he's stress induced or maybe he just has some sort of condition.
He's a projected number one, first round pick. If he continues to play, if his career moves forward.
Yeah, and like
which we've seen with DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin took the field, again this week with training camps opening up, and I assume he was all cleared.
Yeah,
to go back to activity. So
again, being scary that he's so young, but that's probably a reason why he was out of the hospital and being able to walk and everything, that he recouped from it fast. I mean, obviously it was a serious situation. I don't want to put that down at all, but it seems like hopefully it was just a minor event, as cardiac arrest events are.
Yeah.
On that scale, maybe it looks like, hopefully. But again, we don't know what this does to his basketball career. Like there's so many
But
different factors.
first-
I don't pretend to be a doctor and know
No,
any
and
of it.
first and foremost, I mean, it's his life. We're talking about
Yeah.
life and death here, and
It seems like it's not life and death right now because he's out
yeah,
doing things.
but regardless, you know, we just want him to have, you know, you just pray that he has a full and healthy life.
Yeah.
And if basketball's part of that, then I
Great.
think that's just a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to talk some contracts. You know, taking a page out of the sports biz playbook. Getting to the NBA first, Jaylen Brown signs a $304 million supermax for the richest deal in NBA history. The Celtics star will average roughly $60.7 million a year for his 5-year contract. That kind of interesting that he's the second best player on the team that has the richest deal in NBA history.
Yeah.
We know this is how it works. Whoever's up wants to, you know, whoever's the top 10 star, whatever you want to put him, Tatum in there or Brown in there, Jaylen Brown, that he's just gonna trump whoever's next.
Yeah.
You know, they're just gonna reset the market. Jason Tatum though will be eligible for a similar contract next offseason. So I don't know what this does to their salary cap. I know I think they have bird rights over Tatum, so they could probably give him as much as they want. But they do have Porzingis, takes a $30 million hit this season as well. So
Yeah.
but you can only expect Jason Tatum to get even richer deal.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to get a max. He'll set the bar again, right?
Yeah.
He should.
If it doesn't get set again, I don't know who is all up for contracts. And I guess in the NBA, you don't really have to be up for contracts. You just want to renegotiate.
Yeah.
Panthers head coach, switching to the NFL, Carolina Panthers head coach Frank Wright announces Bryce Young will be the QB1 this season, or at least for week 1. Any surprise?
No. I think
There's any chance? When's the last time you had a number 1 overall pick in the NFL, at least, not be the starter? For any position. Can we think of any? What about Jamarcus Russell? Was it? I mean, he started. I know there were issues early on.
I would imagine you have to.
Are you talking 1-1 picks or just first rounders?
No.
1-1.
Overall first round. Yeah.
I think if you're that bad of a team to have the number 1 overall pick, it's a need. It's such a need that I would imagine.
Desmond Ritter didn't start last year. They had Mariota start over Ritter. He
What
was a
pick
first
was he?
rounder.
Yeah, he was a
it's
first rounder.
Yeah, I think first round, not necessarily, but yeah, number 1 overall pick.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, especially at quarterback, there's always not overhyped, a highly hyped player where there may be better long-term players that might be projects or something. I mean, you saw it with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes set out his first year as well. Or at least set on I don't know that he didn't play at all the first year, but he definitely wasn't the starter. And he was 10th overall, somewhere around there. And that seems more ridiculous because now that we know who Patrick Mahomes is, but nobody was necessarily thinking. I mean, obviously he was picked 10th overall, so he was highly touted. And they thought he was going to be a successful NFL quarterback, but not to the level. I mean, I think that's going to be like one of those weird trivia deals one day, or one of those weird factoids is Patrick Mahomes possibly may be the best quarterback of all time when it's all said and done, at least top, whatever, that he sat his first year and didn't even start a game behind Alex Smith nonetheless.
Of all, yeah. Well, I mean, this is the same. I don't know if the Texans have announced. I mean, you assume C.J. Stroud is going to be the starter
Over
there.
Davis Mills? Yeah.
Yeah, Davis Mills and Case Keenum. I mean...
Oh, don't make a neck joke. Don't make a neck joke. No. Yeah, he's got to start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, CJ, that's a better question, though. Like, not that there's not a...
Which, talking about these two guys, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, that's big news for our fantasy league, which we're starting this year, a dynasty league. You want a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. No, that's different because we have I'm going to be in multiple leagues. We're going to have the Peak One sports league. That's not going to be a dynasty league. But we have multiple leagues that we're all going to be in. Completely different playbooks we have.
I'm
going
working on my
here.
draft, my draft notes for our Peak One league, and obviously it's what are the top guys?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how old they are.
Our dynasty league, I need completely different notes for that.
Yeah,
it's a bad
because
idea.
I need to know all the rookies. I need to know what are the teams that are projecting. I mean, obviously you want to win now, But then I also got to kind of think about the future as well.
I hope Joey really does take a kicker in the second round. That's
No, I got to think about that. He's going to take the best kicker off the border.
no. I don't care. No kicker.
Justin Tucker's not putting up 12 points a week.
I mean, it really depends the offenses too. Are they
Yeah.
going to get a lot of extra point opportunities? Are
But
they
you
going to
also
get them
have
in
to
field
think
goal range?
with kickers, if you're playing in Buffalo, you're not kicking the ball
This is
nearly as good as
That's what you have to think about. But my thing is, kicker is going to be my last position pick, no matter what. Whoever the best kicker, because kicker 1 and 2, is a big deal.
Yeah,
but
you
once
get
you
past
start
that,
getting
it
past
doesn't
that,
matter. Same thing with defense. Defense, if you get the number one, maybe number two overall.
So what's
defense,
the worst offense in the league? Let's just throw out a bad offense. Texans have an offense. Now their kicker might not be any worse than probably not whatever kicker the Cowboys are going to get, but you think the Cowboys kicker is probably going to have better points because the Cowboys offense is going to put up a lot of points. They're going to either be in field goal range or get a lot of extra points, unless you're Brett Maher and want to miss a bunch of extra points. But I think there's so much that goes into it. Like, I don't even worry about a kicker. Because you have those people that will take a tight end in the third round and screw up at, like, I'll have to do more research on dynasty leagues about our running backs, the most valuable. Like, they probably aren't. But in your normal, everyday fantasy league,
you want a lot of
receivers. You want a lot of receivers, want a lot of running backs. Usually running backs are the first ones. And then some guy, you know who I'm talking, I know I'm talking to you, will take a quarterback in the first round. Usually Patrick Mahomes, not a bad pick, but you could probably wait. And then everyone's going to panic and start taking quarterbacks. And then you're like, well, man, I got to take...
That's what I'm working on my notes now. And maybe this will be like a sports biz topic we could get into on
fantasy football.
But I'm marking, like, these 5 guys, 6 guys, 7. If these guys are on the board, that's a number 1 pick for me. No matter what. Whatever position, I'm going through and setting. If these guys are still available, my first pick, I'm taking one of those guys.
Yeah. Speaking of fantasy, maybe not number 1 picks, but he's going to be top pick in a lot of people's league. Joe Burrow is going to be out several weeks after a calf strain in practice. Is better news than you think, because when he was carted off the field, we all thought the worst.
Yeah, that's more precautionary.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to miss time in the regular season.
I think I saw Bengals tweeted out that he'll only be missing a couple weeks. So
yeah, it doesn't look like. I can only imagine that he's probably not going to play in any preseason games, even if he's available to. But with that being said, he has missed time in 3 straight training camps with injuries, and obviously he's had some injury concern lately.
Well, he hasn't stayed protected.
That's true.
He's on the ground, a third of his dropbacks.
But with that being said, is there a chance he misses time by holding out for a contract? He's next one up.
Yeah.
He's next one up to get a contract. Do you think? I mean, he's played 3 seasons, made it to a Super Bowl, another AFC Championship game.
I don't think he'll have to hold out.
You think they're going to take care of him?
They'll just give him one. You wouldn't let your franchise quarterback walk. So
yeah, I mean, he's still under contract for at least another year and probably a player option. I mean, a team option, a 5th-year team option. But these days, who knows? I don't know if he's going to be one to hold out.
I mean, you got a situation now with the Dallas Cowboys with
Zach
Martin that he's holding out, and he's a team guy. He's been taking team friendly deals and extensions. He just wants to get paid now, and
I'm not too worried about that. I mean, it's going to get done. Like Jerry Jones says, deadlines make deals, and
they were in the process of finalizing Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah,
$100 million.
We'll get to that as well. Zach Martin's a veteran. He didn't have to take a snap the entire training camp or preseason. I'm not worried. He's going to stay in shape. If anything, it just helps him stay healthy. And hasn't reported to camp at all, right? Correct.
No,
yeah.
Micah Parsons and them just reported to camp.
There's some guys
he's getting fined. He's getting fined for not being at camp, but he's made so much money. It doesn't matter.
There's another way these guys can also handle this, and maybe nobody even realizes this. These guys can show up and just stand on the sidelines and not put a helmet on.
Just so they're not fined. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so they're not fined.
Kyler Murray did that.
I'm just not going to suit up until you guys get me a deal done.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. I think that's much bigger middle finger to the team.
Yeah.
Because they can see you every day just over there
Ian,
smirking.
yeah, just do your workouts and then just kind of stand on the
Just
sideline.
don't
not really.
participate in it. Just walk around, work on your tan,
Yeah.
enjoy the fresh air.
And Joe Burrow's probably be the same, where he's a developed quarterback. I'm not too worried about the work he's getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree that you can't. I don't care how much you have to pay him. If you get into week 1 and he's sitting out, he might get some flack for that.
I would think if Joe Burrow reported to camp, though, is he really planning on sitting out if he doesn't get a deal done?
Well, once you get an injury, though, then you're like, crap, I'm just another, if he would have, okay, let's say he tore his ACL. Let's say he tore his ACL. Would that be setting precedence for the first player to get a huge game-changing, league-changing, reset market contract?
But look what he's done for
with
the
a torn
Bengals.
ACL. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But
I don't think the Bengals are in a position to not pay him, because what's the other plan if you piss him off and he walks?
But the same point is, they're not playing devil's advocate. You should pay Joe Burrow regardless. But tears his ACL, have 2 season-ending injuries, hypothetically, have 2 season-ending injuries in the first 4 years of your career. Do we really want to pay you that much money? I mean, I could see his contract being a lot more guaranteed up front.
Yeah.
Maybe a shorter contract. But I think I agree with Landen. I think they're going to just get it done and not have to worry about it. Because the fans can be mad at the player for holding out, but what Cowboys fan is mad at Zach Martin? Right? Nobody's mad at Zach Martin. They're mad at Jerry Jones. They're mad at the ownership. They're mad at the man.
Unfortunately, Dak is our franchise quarterback, so it'd be like Jerry Jones letting Dak walk, and that's never going to happen, unfortunately. So
yeah, well, I mean, you don't want Dak to walk.
Dak's a top 10 quarterback.
Regardless
of performance, at
this point, he's not overpaid anymore, because I think he's like the 7th highest paid, and I put him right there, 6th at best, really 12th at worst.
Really? Nah, he's the number 10 guy. He's in
that range. Yeah,
he's the 10th best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, he's paid slightly better than.
Well, once Joe Burrow gets paid, he's probably right there.
I think Dak's paid right, just about where
compare him to Daniel Jones. I think
if he can,
he's probably not paid enough.
And Dak even said this: he will not throw as many interceptions this season. He marked that.
Yeah.
Of course, what did he throw? 20 last year, so
he led the league.
Traditionally, Dak does not turn the ball over.
He can't throw any more than he did last
year.
Well,
I really don't know if it's physically possible for him to try to throw more.
Go by analytics. You have half a season, and most of his interceptions were like in the last half of the season, although because he missed a few. But take half a season of Dak throwing a ton of interceptions, or 7.5 years of him protecting the ball, not throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
I would say it's got to come down.
Complain either way.
Yeah, the fan base is going to complain.
If he's not aggressive, they complain. If he is too aggressive, I mean, we talked about this morning. His very first throw in training camp, in head to head,
he's had 2 interceptions.
He threw a ball. It literally bounced out of the receiver's chest, popped up, and was intercepted. And of course, it's all over the news media. Oh, he steps in day one, first throw, it's interception.
I saw that one, but people weren't like, "Oh, Dak threw an interception on that." It was more of like, at this point, just stop throwing it to rookie receivers.
And then he overthrew.
And then he overthrew somebody.
He overthrew Cooks. Well, he overthrew Cooks, and then you're like, okay, that's an overthrow. And the Cooks ran and caught up to it, slowed down and caught the ball. But I never put anything into training camp because they try. It's just like when you have pitchers doing rehab starts in the minor leagues. They're working on, or spring training, they're working on completely different things, trying to see if things
the result.
If the pitcher gives up 3 straight home runs in spring training or a rehab start, like that's not the point. Okay, that's not working. Yeah. But they're just trying to work. Yeah. Same thing. He's trying to get, like, maybe that, for all we knew, he overthrew Cooks on purpose just to see, because he may have thought, hey man, you're pretty fat, and then just see how far he can push it. I don't know. I'm not defending Dak. I'm just saying, don't overblow it. I get the media does it. It's their job. Yeah. We're in the dog days of summer. Finally getting into a lot of sports content.
Yeah.
But they have to come up with something. Moving on, we're talking about Joe Burrow possibly resetting the quarterback market, because Justin Herbert just did.
Yep.
For probably a couple of weeks until Burrow gets his contract. Justin Herbert's the highest paid, I guess, player in NFL history, but quarterback for sure. 5-year, $262.5 million deal. One of those things you have to. When your quarterback's up for contract and he's a top 10 quarterback, possibly top 5, he hasn't done it. Justin Herbert hadn't really done anything.
He hasn't
but
had a team around him to do it. He absolutely has.
I think he's top 5.
I think we'll see this year, and alongside him with Kellen Moore, it's the awesome offensive coordinator. If they make a run, and Justin Herbert has a hell of a season, a Pro Bowl season like he has had, I think Kellen Moore's the next NFL head coach you see in the league.
Yeah,
there's already a lot of rumors. He's interviewed a lot of talks. This could be the year, and especially with that big contract that he's got, he's going to help Kellen Moore
especially
further his career.
Especially what happens with the Cowboys offense as well. If Kellen Moore succeeds and the Cowboys offense,
doesn't progress.
Yeah, it doesn't progress. They regress is what the word I was looking for. They just come back a little bit, although you can't just expect them. They've had top offense the last couple of years, one of the top offenses. Whether it's Kellen Moore's fault or not, it just looks good for him in general. If the Cowboys, if Dak just strides, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be because he doesn't have Kellen Moore now.
No.
Because there's been a lot of debate. Who is it? It's not necessarily it's Kellen Moore's fault or Dak's fault. That's not how the world works necessarily. But it could look really bad or really good for Kellen Moore, depending on what happens with the Cowboys and the Chargers this season. Again, going back to the Cowboys, we mentioned it, Trayvon Diggs. He agrees to a 5-year, $97 million extension. Very, very high paid cornerback.
Yeah.
That's, again, something you have to do. You're not going to let
13 interceptions. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, he led the league. He's led the league in interceptions the last 2 years. I also think he's number 3 in giving up yards, but that's just kind of how that works. If you're going to go,
I'd be interested to see how like someone like Deion Sanders numbers ran. I don't know those off the top of my head. He had the interceptions, and I know he's a big defender, and they got a lot of guys would challenge him.
Yeah.
Then versus today's game, that's such a passing league. Hey, I'm going to challenge you. The competition is different, but did he give up yards?
Diggs has had reeled it in a little bit, being less aggressive. Still got a few interceptions, but a lot of times I know the overtime win they had against the Patriots. They thought they had won that game. The Patriots go and bomb them for 75 yards. Diggs was the one left chasing him at the end. But they said over and over again that wasn't Diggs' fault. He came as a backup, and he's the one getting seen chasing. Is like, oh, look what Diggs gave it. So a lot of times, just because you get credit, that doesn't necessarily mean. But you're gonna take the turnovers over the yards.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the way that they do it is the closest man to them is who got the yards. So if
the statistician doesn't know what the coverage was.
Breakdown and the safety doesn't come over.
Exactly. A lot of times you'll see a guy wide open, and then a player realizes, a defender realizes it and chases after him. You're like, oh, that must have been your guy because you figured it out. But he's just the first one that noticed it and got caught with his pants down.
When you're in zone coverage and that's not your responsibility, you're supposed to release that receiver to the inside, and you have outside coverage. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah, when you're running man-to-man on straight seams,
the media,
it's easy to tell who covers who.
And fan base, especially Cowboy haters, which is anyone that's not a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, some people that are Cowboys fans as well. There are a lot of Cowboys haters / fans.
They're gonna
undercover Cowboys.
They're gonna blame that on him as, oh, look, you could have. No, you have to understand the coverages. If it's one-on-one, man-on-man, and you get beat, okay, then you get beat. In one-on-one coverage,
you have crossing routes, people. Just because you have crossing routes, and 2 guys go to one player.
Well, that's a breakdown in coverage.
You can't just say either one of those guys missed their game. One of them did, but you don't know because you don't know what the play was, and that's why you go back and listen. And it's hard because coaches aren't going to just call their guys out necessarily like that unless you're Sean Payton. But he's not his guy, other guys. But he's not going to exactly tell you what was happening. Lots of times you can tell, you're like, okay, that was, and then the player will come and say, that's my bad. But agreed. Lots of time, it's fine being a casual sports fan, casual football fan, baseball, whatever, but don't go out and act like you know what you're talking about if you don't. I like to think of myself as a casual sports fan, but I'm talking on a podcast, so the haters are going to come with, you don't know shit. But the contracts, New York Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas signs a record deal with the team agreeing to a 5-year, $117 million deal. The $67 million guaranteed at signing is the most ever for an offensive lineman. Just kind of brought that up because it was the best, highest ever. Obviously, very good offensive lineman, a very important position, as we know, with Tyler Smith.
Those guys actually, offensive linemen, the big guys, they always get overshadowed and overlooked when it comes to these contracts.
Yeah, you don't want to pay him too much because once you get over the kind of like that $20 million range, then it's significant. And you're like, are you that great? But not only, they're very important, but at the same time, they're putting their bodies through a lot more than pretty much anybody but possibly running backs.
Yeah.
It's a tough position. And then switching to Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani off the trade block. The Angels say they're not going to trade them. But they went and made a couple of moves. They've won 7 of their last 8, I believe. And they're right back in the playoff race. So I agree, it's surprising. But does Ohtani stay there now? He's a very quiet guy. I have no idea what his interests are. What does he care about? A lot of people said he wanted to stay on the West Coast. Angels are on the West Coast. I don't know that he necessarily cares that they're little brother to the Dodgers. Does he care about money? Does this help him?
Does he like being the guy? Sometimes
does he like being the guy?
Just want to be the guy, no matter the result of the team.
And it's different because the culture's different in Japan as well.
Yeah.
So that may be a thing. Like, he doesn't want to be big, flashy, show off guy, a big, flashy and show off guy. That the fact that the Angels made some moves to help the team, does that? Him and Trout are the hardest to read because they don't come out and say anything. I don't know. Does Trout want to be there? Does Trout just say, hey, you're going to pay me all this money, I'm going to be there? Is Ohtani like that? I mean, obviously, I think the Angels are probably going to put the biggest contract out there. I don't know with the baseball CBA if they are able to give him more or if it matters. I think anybody can give him whatever. I don't think the Angels have a benefit.
Yeah.
Other than they can negotiate with him throughout the year. But I'm surprised, too. I thought he was all but gone, possibly. And I was thinking, you have to trade him. He's not going to come back. But they make some moves. I don't know what their farm system looks like in terms of
playoffs. I think it boosts their chance, but I think if they don't make the playoffs,
but are they set up to be a contending team for a future? I don't. They have one of the worst, I believe, ranked farm systems, and I don't know what all they gave up in these couple of trades they made. But outside of Ohtani and Trout, they don't have a great roster. So I don't know how they're going to continue to build around him, though.
Yeah.
But, if they can keep him from an ownership standpoint, it's Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
It's the possibly greatest baseball player of all time, and it doesn't matter if you don't win a World Series from the ownership standpoint.
Yeah.
You have Trout and Ohtani, and for
marketable.
years you're going to have, if he hits his 500th home run, his 3,000th hit, his 300th career win as a pitcher, which is odd to say.
Oh, wait, didn't he just recently had his first shutout?
Yeah, so he's the first player. It was a doubleheader. He's the first player in Major League history to pitch a complete game shutout in Game 1 of the doubleheader and hit 2 home runs in Game 2. And then he hit another home run last night, so he has 39 home runs on the year. Which is third best all time for home runs before August.
The best pitcher,
top 5 pitcher. I wouldn't say he's best, but top 5 pitcher for sure.
And on your team.
Oh yeah, best
top pitcher
for sure. Best pitcher on your team.
Top pitcher, and he's your top offensive producer on your team. The one guy is taking 2 spots.
So that's why you have to say you could trade him. You have to get a haul for him,
but you can also pay him big because he's taking up 2 spots in your roster.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't pay him, you're going to offer the world. Like, if he doesn't go with you, you're like, well, I gave him everything that we could possibly give him. They're going to offer him more than any other player's been offered, because if you lose him, you have to replace your best hitter and your best pitcher.
I can't imagine that the Angels would not pursue trading if they hadn't.
It's such a big risk.
Or if they didn't already have some sort of agreement in place, a verbal. Yes, I'll sign. Yes, I'm willing to work with you.
I think that's why they're not trading him, is because he hasn't said yes or no yet.
But we don't know.
Maybe he's told them something.
I think But if you had a definite no, would you trade away
But
stuff?
then again,
I would want because he's going to walk.
But
You're
then
not gonna do
again-
anything.
No, but I'm saying if
to
you
trade.
already have a definite yes that, hey, I'm re-signing next year, do you still go out and trade the little bit of in your farm system that you have to try to make a 1-year playoff run?
Or if you're trying to bring guys in and
But-
renegotiate and try to build for now and not
but
look at the farm. I mean, some teams
Otani,
do this.
Otani's young too. You're like, hey, we'll figure it out later. Let's just keep
Yeah.
him.
I mean, if they do what they did
Not-
with Trout and sign him for 15,
Not all teams in the MLB even utilize their farm systems. I mean, there's
So, Landon, you may know a better answer. Are they allowed to sign him now, or do you have to wait till offseason? Because if he has a yes or an agreement, why not just go ahead and do it?
yeah, I don't.
Maybe your strategic thing before the
Well,
trade
I mean,
deadline
maybe-
just to leave
we
him.
know
People have
negotiations-
signed during the season before.
But contract negotiations, I mean, if they've just pulled back this trade, maybe they've just said, hey, you know what, we'll start the negotiation process. It takes months and months and months.
I guess
to go
if
through
Otani
this.
says, okay, look,
I'll stay, let's start working on a deal now. It could take
say
months
yes.
to work a deal out.
Yeah, if he tells you, yes, I'm willing to stay. I'm not just going to leave. I might leave, better offer, better situation. But yeah, I guess if he gives you not a definite, I'm staying, but says, hey, this is what I want. Possibly we'll talk about numbers in the offseason or whatever after the season. But yes, there's a chance of me staying. I guess you have to go after it if you have
Yeah.
any chance at keeping him.
I don't know. When I think about it, you have a guy like him with a possibility to go to a bigger market, a better team.
It is still the
team
Los
with a-
Angeles market too.
a
I know
team
it's the
with
little brother,
a
but
locked play-in. Like, this team goes to the playoffs every year. I mean, he can go wherever he wants, and they'll do something.
what's his
about
goal though? I mean, obviously
Yeah.
everyone wants to win a World Series, but Trout could have gone anywhere. Angels weren't contenders when they re-signed him. Like maybe they,
it. They had made playoffs though.
yeah. I mean, Trout might be like, "Oh, I'll win eventually here." But is your thing?
Also, in
say-
the time that happened, you didn't have the Rangers playing like they play. I mean, now the AL West
Yeah.
is such a tough division to come out of.
So I mean, you just have to look at it. Obviously, staying in one place probably isn't at the top of his mind. He just came over from Japan. But people are like, hey, I want to stay in one market, play my whole career here, be a legend. I want money. I want to be contending. You know, obviously, ideally, they want all of that. But you just don't know what his motivations are. And maybe he comes out and says it, and you know, the local media know more about it. But I think I've heard him in an interview once, which again, go back to last episode. Or the sports page episode, MLB is doing a terrible job at marketing.
Yeah.
You should just know everything about Otani right now and Trout. Like I don't think I've heard
with
Trout more than
With
twice.
Manfred's new contract
Trout-
deal, I don't
Trout's had
see
a
that
lot of
changing.
injury problems this year.
Yeah. Well, Trout's injured right now, so what are you can? But yeah, it just all goes to his motivation. But I mean, you can look at it too. The market for trading players right now is kind of weak, and that goes to adding the extra playoff, the playoff spots. So more teams aren't necessarily sellers. As
Yeah,
normal
they
as
have life still.
So if you look at it too, if they're just looking at the landscape of it and saying we're not going to get back a legendary haul like we think we are, we also, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, you have to take into account the fans and the media's perspective.
Yeah.
Whether you just can't go out there and be a villain. Say, no, y'all don't know anything about baseball. That's not how it works. You have to keep up the perception that you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
And even if you make, by the book, a great trade, it's great value, you win in the trade, you just traded away the best player possibly in MLB history, and he goes to the Yankees and has a legendary career. It's like you don't think of the Athletics when you think of Reggie Jackson. You think of the Yankees, although he won some World Series in Oakland.
Yeah.
Mark McGwire didn't win World Series in Oakland, I don't think. But you think the Cardinals,
Yeah.
Jason Giambi, you think the Yankees, you don't think Oakland.
Yeah.
Man,
Man,
not to pick on Oakland, not
They've
to pick on
screwed
Oakland.
themselves with
Yeah.
players, haven't they?
Billy Bean, what are you doing? You got a movie, but
I
no.
think
But you don't think, you're not going to think of Otani as an Angel if he goes and has a Hall of Fame career with
Yeah.
the Dodgers or the Yankees or
I mean,
whatever.
when you think about it hypothetically, if they trade to the Dodgers, who do they get? Because you have that.
I don't know what their
whole
farm system. I
lineup.
know the Dodgers have a pretty
They
decent
have-
farm system
they have
right
a
now.
Deep farm system, and they have a star-studded lineup. You could really trade give the Angels Freddie Freeman, some farm.
The Dodgers aren't
guys.
going to trade Freddie Freeman though. If the Dodgers
But
are
you could
trading for
move
him,
Ohtani, I think he's 6. He's pretty tall. You move him to first base.
just from the perspective, I'm not going to pretend I know that much about baseball where I get talk about moving people in and out. I don't know all of Freddie Freeman's statistics right now to compare, but if you got to think of it from the perspective of the team that wants to get him, they're not getting him just to, hey, we got Ohtani, we got the marketability of him. They're obviously going for a World Series. You might get a couple of really good role players that are in the MLB right now, but the only superstars you're going to get are prospects. And again, if utilizing your farm system, those prospects might not turn out to be anything.
Yeah.
Like, how many superstars do you have to not necessarily statistically, but just to equal out having Ohtani on your team? At minimum, too, we just talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's a superstar pitcher and a superstar hitter.
You have to unload the farm system, and maybe
Absolutely, yeah. You need you're gonna have to a couple of MLB guys that you have control over for a few years, because you're obviously how the Angels are set now, which obviously they're not trading him, but hypothetically, you get rid of Ohtani, you're not a contending team for a few years at least, and you just get a haul. I don't know how often players hit or how you consider hit and misses, because you have to wait till the end of the career. For the most part, that I don't know if I need 2 superstars to replace him. I need 10 prospects that are projected to be
And
really
maybe that
good
was
ML
part
players.
of the hang up to make a trade deal. You
Like, it's just not
the
going to be
rumors
worth it.
is you just couldn't, the teams couldn't justify doing that because, and I don't know if the Angels look at it this way. I look at it this way as I have 2 superstar. Like, this is a 2-player trade. This is not Ohtani only. This is a stud pitcher and an offensive producer. I need compensation for that. And yeah,
Offensive
I wonder
producer
if
is
that-
having
they
a
just couldn't
third
come into an
best hitting
agreement.
season, home run wise, in history, who's just behind Aaron Judge's home run pace from last year. And yeah, you look at it and say, I mean, to use a baseball analogy, I'd rather strike out going for a home run than bunt just to get on base, or I guess move a guy over. That's what the thing. If we strike out, we strike out. If he's not an Angel next year, we went after it. We built a team around him. We kept him. We didn't bunt or sacrifice fly, whatever analogy you want to use. We didn't do this to build the future. We did it to now through the future, and he just didn't sign with us.
I think with the Angels, you're kind of too far in to save it now. They don't have, when you think of like the Dodgers, everybody on that lineup, if Mookie Betts wasn't in the outfield, they still have guys on the bench who could go and play outfield at a pretty elite level. And same thing with all their infield spots. They have plenty of people to fill in those spots and play at a high level.
Yeah, and
I think the Angels just don't have enough.
there's not, unless they make this decision, re-sign him, and then win a couple of World Series with him in his Hall of Fame career, there's not a definitive you made the right choice or the wrong choice. Because one, you can't go the other way and see what happens.
Yeah.
But this is the first time this kind of situation has ever happened. Because you go back to Babe Ruth, it wasn't the same signing free agents and doing all that. I don't even think you could sign with other teams. Or say your contract runs up and go sign with another team. They trade you. The Red Sox traded Babe Ruth for money to fund a play.
Yeah, for cash.
Yeah, to fund a play, to fund a show on, I guess not Broadway, whatever. The owner owned a theater or something. Completely different back then. But you can't say, this is a weird position to be in, and if it doesn't turn out well for the Angels, people are going to say you made the wrong decision. If it turns out great, they made the right decision. It's completely, it's a bad position to be in, and it's a lot easier to sit in front of a microphone and talk about the situation, which you should and shouldn't do, rather than being in that position, have your real money being risked.
On the line, yeah.
Yeah, being on the line. And Angels ownership should not bet with your gut, which leads us into our Betalytics spot. Don't bet with your gut, as Cole says. Well, Cole says he bets with his gut, but you shouldn't bet with yours. The Betalytics dashboard Dashboards allow you to quickly identify the top graded best bets and hottest trends. Betalytics uses AI machines to learn algorithms and create accurate game simulations, player prop projections, betting line evaluations, and best bet recommendations. Use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off when you sign up today. Go to betalytics.com to start betting smarter.
With that, go into the thread for the week.
This is going to be a fun thread because, did all the Major League Baseball stuff, which dragged on for a while. We did the cleats last time, and now we're back to NFL uniforms.
The NFL, yeah. Take it away.
Let's go. When you go to Denver's far left, it's a really,
it's nice.
It's nice.
They're throwback, kind of mixed in with your modern
Yeah.
uniform styles.
I
Yeah,
like
these
the
were the
white helmet.
These
lot
are the
of
white
people are
helmets
going
they
white
teased.
helmet.
We even teased them through our social media earlier
Yeah.
in the year. What were they calling these? I forget what they called
Big
them.
D helmets?
Snow cap. No, snow caps.
These helmets, yeah.
Yeah, the white.
Because they're basically they're throwback helmets. They're just not blue. They're white.
Yeah, and they're going with they use that navy instead of the old
blue. Yeah, it's just their modern colors.
colors. Yeah,
I like these. I've never been a real big fan of Broncos wearing the orange because they don't have new uniforms. Their uniforms have been the same since the late 90s.
yeah, 98, I believe.
Yeah, and their orange was the alternate. And so all they've been doing is wearing their alternate colors,
Yeah,
which I'm not a big fan of when teams just switch to alternate. The thing that we mentioned before the show, the Titans are kind of in the same. They haven't really changed their uniforms up.
right.
Really ever. They just move colors around.
Yeah,
And their uniforms now, the Titans, the dark blue all the way around, navy blue, to me just looks like their alternate uniform. And not even well put together, honestly.
Yeah,
I
like
think
this-
it's just kind of a gimmicky uniform.
these Broncos, they wore the threads, this jersey and the pants. You can't see them in this picture, but they're an orange pant that matches.
Do they
I
have the
like
stripe the same as the shoulders?
I think so. I think that goes down the pants.
It's not like the little.
No, these are. I think it's a completely different look. I can't remember off the top of my head. I like this look better than their current. I hope. And
No,
they're
I do.
actually,
I definitely. Yeah.
They announced that they're actually working with Nike now. I believe for a 2024 uniform release, where they're going to do a complete new uniform design. I hope they go something towards this, which I believe they will. As you can see with these others, we got the Titans here and the Jets here. And we saw with the Cardinals, all the teams that are releasing new uniform concepts, they're all going to a much more simplistic, a much more traditional football uniform look. And I'm a big fan of it. You mentioned before the show, it's like, hey, take that style away for so long, and then we're going to beg for it back.
Well, at the same time, too, I know these uniforms aren't that old, but you have older uniforms that just weren't put together well because the NFL wasn't the money-making.
The Cardinals uniforms prior to these were terrible. They were atrocious.
If you're ever interested, maybe people might be interested in just following some different TikTok videos, and I've sent you some on like history of certain uniforms and helmets. You go back and they didn't have teams designing these uniforms. They had like, okay, we designed it, and hey, we switched the face mask color because it cost us less, not because this would look cool. So a lot of these uniforms, like we get with the Oilers and everything, although the Oilers, I guess they started in the 60s. They had like a blue helmet, but I don't know how old when these specific uniform color scheme started for the Oilers. But when they started, that was just a great design. You're not paying a firm millions and billions of dollars for these designs like you are now. That, hey, there were a lot of good designs back there. They're just terrible quality uniforms because teams really didn't care. They didn't have a bunch of different uniforms. They had their color schemes, for their pride, but they had white jerseys and dark jerseys because you don't want to get them confused with the players in the field. Now, all that's out the door. That's a whole scheme, or not scheme, but that's just a whole economic money driver. Is like, hey, the marketing is changing.
Every year.
Yeah.
We're going to put it,
Yeah, I guarantee you teams are either hiring firms or have people working for them that's all they do is think uniform styles. What are we doing here? We're picking what uniforms we wear for what games.
Well, and with the, since Nike took over the NFL uniform game, they're constantly doing that, and they have to work with Nike designers to come up, and you're actually starting to see, I'm sure this was a concept Nike came through as, hey, let's go to this more retro style, and everything you see Nike putting out, it all looks very similar. I mean, we can see with these uniforms, they look similar. The 2 or 3 stripes on the sleeves and things like that is...
And that's true
and that's okay. And some people, they knock Nike for this, and they knock the NFL for where they're going, oh, these are boring, they're plain. I really like it. From a design standpoint, I think it's nice sometimes to go to a more simplistic...
Yeah, when you go, like, going into the new millennium, you had bright gold, silver. This is the new millennium.
Well,
look at the Rams
atrocious.
St. Louis Rams. I mean,
Yeah.
that wasn't atrocious. That was a good uniform, the gold and blue. And then when they go back to LA, they're like, hey, let's go back to our classic yellow and blue look. And we were talking...
look, think about the Buccaneers uniforms previous to
those are
right
like the worst looking,
terrible, blocky, and all these, like, none of it made sense.
Quarterbacks wearing sleeves way past their elbows. That goes into it too. Just the design of the uniform, not even the color scheme. That I would have to go over the Buccaneers uniforms to their old ones. That it seems pretty, or the white jerseys that have the big holes in them, the cheap jerseys. The color schemes are probably very, very similar. Looking at these Oilers ones, they're exactly the same.
That's what I was going to say. Here's a controversial one. Who gets the Oilers uniforms? The Titans or Houston?
Titans legally own them.
They are that franchise. They are the Oilers.
We had a podcast when Earl Campbell, when he wants to go have an event, does he go to Nashville to a Titans game, or does he go to Houston? He didn't play for the Texans. Then.
No,
he played for the Titans,
Houston.
And
that makes such a.
That's a shameless plug for a sports page a couple of months ago, relocating the history. But keep going.
But that's a tough one, right? Because you would think Houston and Oilers, like it goes hand in hand.
But I mean, these are the Titans colors too.
But it's the Titans colors. This is the franchise. They were actually the Oilers in Tennessee for 1 or 2 seasons, right?
Do you think Houston fans are upset about this? That they shouldn't be able to?
I think so.
They should wear these when they play the Texans. They play the Texans twice. I
When
don't know
they
if that's
go
a stick to it.
When they go to Houston, they should
wear these. They should
in
wear
Houston.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a stick or if that'd be kind of cool. If I was a Houston fan, it'd be like if the Oilers. I mean, I know this is a rival team, but if the Titans come and play, I would go to a game to watch. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, these are great uniforms.
These are cool. You know what? Honestly, I'd love to see the Titans go to this type of colorway with their uniforms and just
they went the wrong way. They went all dark blue. They should all go bright blue.
Yeah, I think they should stick with this colorway. Go back to use your Titan logo on the helmet.
And what's funny is
maybe do even a red helmet or do something cool with that, but keep this same styling.
It's funny when we were growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, having a white helmet seemed kind of like the cheap way to go.
Yeah.
And now everyone's going to, whether they're changing to white helmets or they're just doing a different, the Cowboys, the Broncos, obviously. Every team has like a white, the Bengals, that was probably the ice helmets.
Yeah, the one of the coolest ones. Speaking of helmets, the Jets, going back to this Jet logo. Landon, what do you think about these jerseys?
To me, they're brand new. I've never seen these jerseys before.
Yeah, they don't look old, do they? To you?
I think it's just I think
really.
they're just doing that.
Like just like a refurbished.
And that's kind of the stripe
part of their.
That's kind of the stripes that a lot of older teams have. It's similar to the Broncos, but the Broncos just have a different color. It's the same stripe. It's just different colors.
The Cardinals is the same too.
Yeah.
They look that way.
It's just two white stripes or two green stripes with the white in the middle.
I think it looks good. I think this
is a clean look. I like
that retro look.
I like the dark helmet with all white uniform. Yeah. I always think that's never a bad way to go.
This is a helmet they wore in the 90s. This Jet logo.
Early 90s, the late 90s, they switched to the white helmets with the stripe that's on their shoulder. And then it was that circle logo with Jets.
A very clean look. Would you wear that jersey?
Yeah.
I think it looks good.
Oilers jersey.
Hell, you buy me a jersey, I'll wear it.
Yeah, the Oilers jersey, that's...
I might have to give me an Oilers jersey.
I like the Vikings throwback. We don't have it up, but I think they're playing... Who are they playing week 1? And they're both wearing throwback jerseys.
And that's where the Jets will wear these jerseys that you see. That'll be a week.
The Vikings are one that I like their uniforms now over their old. Like I know Adrian Peterson years, they had those weird all purple. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
They've kind of put a mix between their old uniforms and their uniforms then.
Yeah.
They've kind of come back. Similar to the Cardinals. The Cardinals just kind of went all out.
We don't have that now. I mean, before the Oilers debuted, I think the Seahawks may have stole the show. Until this one, they're going back to their old royal blue and silver pants, silver helmet. But before these Oilers jerseys, I think they had stolen the show this year. You remember the royal blue with the lighter green color?
I used to every time I
I
played with the Seahawks in Madden. Like Madden, I think it was like 25th anniversary. It's the only jerseys I would wear with the Seahawks, the gray ones.
The gray ones are kind of they're highlighter ones. That's what I call them. That's just too much. But they're ones too. Like I think, I know we say like things are atrocious, like the creamsicle uniforms. But we like the Buccaneers coming back with them, or they're dreamsicle. Maybe in 20 years we're gonna look back at these 2010 era uniforms and be like, you know what, those were kind of cool. I don't know, because I think with the Seahawks, Cardinals, what do we already mention, the Vikings?
I know nobody can see this on screen here in studio. We're looking.
Yeah, I know what
if those would have done, if not, no, all the teams wouldn't have come out with new uniforms like we've seen, and maybe the NFL should have rolled it out like that. I mean, this year's the year of the retro throwbacks.
Yeah.
You know, with the creamsicles you just said. I mean, these Seahawks are going to be I would almost love to see all the teams go back to all those old uniforms for a few years.
Yeah, or just have like a week. Well,
Or just be like the
I
Cowboys
guess
and never change them. Keep the same uniforms for
Change it
Cowboys
just
are
a
the
little
Yankees
bit.
of the
3 decades.
NFL.
I mean, yeah, it's the same like with the Lakers as well. The Lakers kind of have alternates, but they stick. They wear the yellow at home, the white on Sunday home games, things like that. The Lakers, Yankees, and Cowboys are different. The Cowboys have changed them enough where they did change them, and they have the different color. We talked about it before the show, the different blue color scheme. But it would be hard. The Cowboys can't really come up with a retro one. They can change their color, their pants back to gray or whatever. There's some. I guess they could do like
I like the ones where they
the
had
sleeves.
the sleeved
Yeah,
colors. Yeah.
They haven't worn. I know something like obviously for Thanksgiving they wore the blue jerseys with the white sleeves, but they haven't worn the white jerseys with the blue sleeves.
Yeah.
In a long time.
I like the ones with the white with the blue sleeves. I like those.
I think it'd be cool to have like
you know what? I even
a
can remember
retro
the Troy
week.
Aikman days where you have the navy with the white sleeve too.
Yeah,
I
think
that.
you can do like
They have
have
the
like
big
a
stars
retro
on the
week
shoulders.
with the NFL. Of course, marketing that would never. You wouldn't want all your teams to do it on the same week.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's why I say I'd love to see a 2-year run of just the old jerseys.
Yeah, or maybe look at. You know what? I think it'd be cool. We're talking about the thread when we did the MLB rankings to do one, but not do retro ones because that's just like, yeah, these are cool. This is what I like about it. Let's do like the worst uniforms.
Yeah.
Maybe not even do it by team. Just come up. Let's just do it for like 2 weeks.
Pick a few.
The word and I know all of them are going to be Thursday night football uniforms. The all gold Jags uniforms.
Oh, that one's bad.
The You know what? Now that we're talking about the Titans should go the other way. I don't know that they should because I remember the all light blue Titans when they played the Jags Thursday night football.
Yeah,
that was a color rush though.
Yeah,
the color rush. Yeah, that's what.
Color rush was bad. Everybody was either all white.
I think
or
the
there was
only
so much
way the
weird
color rush really worked well is all white, like how the Cowboys color rush. Theirs look nice.
Yeah.
I'm not
like
a big
how the
fan of
Bengals
going
did this
like
year?
the Bills
Or
went
last
all red.
That's another one. The early 2000s, 2010s era, the Bills. I like how they simplified it, and they do have red jerseys. Some I think alternate.
And I'm okay
sometimes.
with having an alternate color like that.
But their helmets were all like weird. You were talking about blocky blue
The
and
Bills debuted a red helmet last year. Like
their old helmet.
Yeah, it was like a retro. Josh Allen was wearing. He's the only one wearing it because he had the quarterback jersey on. He had a red helmet on, but they never wore it last year. I don't think.
Well, I think a lot of people can do it. Using design software. A lot of people do different things, but I think Nike comes out with a lot of them and throws them out on social media. Because I remember when Zeke posted the white helmet that not this past season, the season before that they wore on, or maybe it was last year on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That people are like, oh my gosh, look, this just broke. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've seen that helmet before. Like they said it a few months ago that they're going to wear it. But I think Nike just throws stuff out there.
Yeah.
Let social media take it and see. Like, let's see what
It's got to be.
people are
We've
thinking.
seen it with all
Like
the
they
leaks.
throw it out there.
We've seen all the leaks with the MLB
Yeah.
City Connects. Like, that almost seems purposeful because
Yeah,
after
but-
a first few of them leak, like, why are you not putting a stop to them leaking again, you know?
Yeah.
They want them to leak.
They wanted to leak to see what the reaction is before they say these are going to be the uniforms,
Yeah.
because they get that, like, ideally when you think Jacksonville, you tell them, hey, we're going to do gold jerseys. Okay, that's cool. We're going to do a faded helmet. That's awesome. But then when it comes out, it's more mustard than gold,
Yeah, I don't like
which I talked about in the sports biz. When you do
like the
all, and
faded
it wasn't
helmet.
really even gold. It was like mustard
Yeah, it was
colored.
weird.
Helmet was okay.
Helmet was okay. The idea was pretty cool, like faded into gold
Yeah, the
or
gradient.
yeah, and then it comes out and you're like, and maybe it was the Thursday night matchups that were terrible, but I just remember they always wore those on because the Jaguars.
I
played
think
a
that's
lot
how
of
they were
Thursday night
trying to
football.
bring some attention to a Thursday night game that nobody really cared to have Thursday night football, and you were putting terrible teams on it. They thought, hey, let's throw out these color rushes every Thursday, and people just want to tune in to see those uniforms, and they just didn't work.
The NFL really shoved that down our throats, but hey, it works now. Although Prime has
Since
some
then,
issues.
though, that was the first time you really saw, though, through with the color rush, you saw this like transition of alternates and things, and
Yeah.
that's adapted to where we are now.
Yeah.
Where teams are like, hey, you know what? Let's go out of the box, because I think they're on a 2-year cycle on uniforms. When you go with a style, you have to. I think it's 2 year. You have to stick with that uniform style before you can change anything again. They're like, man, every 2 years, let's do something fun.
Before
like
we
this.
go,
Let's do a
I think
full
I think
alternate
I'd
set."
like to see like an all navy uniform for the Cowboys. Like
Yeah.
leave the navy, like the same helmet that they had for Thanksgiving with the all white, but just make it navy and keep the star navy and everything, and just do like
a navy, their standard navy jersey maybe with do a navy.
yeah.
pant
Well,
with-
if you're doing the navy star with a navy helmet and just outline,
you're
maybe
saying
do
navy
navy
helmet.
numbers. Yeah, navy helmet, navy numbers with like a gray or silver outline, and then navy pant,
I
like
think
just
I'd like to
completely
just see
not like they had been doing with mixing. Like they just
Yeah.
they wore when they wore their white helmets with their normal.
uniform.
All white with their normal helmet.
Yeah.
And like they're just kind of mixing like nothing new, and then they went with the all new white. Like the jerseys were different, the pants were different.
Yeah.
I think they should go all navy, and I'm sure you could find a color exactly what I'm saying. I bet you could look up somebody has done it and put it on paper where you could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're running out of time. We ran that just about to the end. Guys, I want to thank you for sticking with us for all these months, just a few months.
Yeah.
We're going a lot of different places here. Keep listening, comment, share, follow, listen to all of our other shows here on the Peak One Sports Network. If you're more into podcasts, we have podcast platforms. Just come on YouTube, subscribe, and just for our numbers, and then just go back. I listen to our podcast platform all the time. But hey, until next time, I'm Ashton.
And I'm Tony.
I'm Landon.
I'll see you guys next time.